Pergamon, the area of what is today Turkey, and the Battle of the Giants and the occult book of Enoch. The Battle of the Giants, we were talking about Genesis, Old Testament, giants, the Nephilim, the fallen angels. The Battle of the Giants throughout the Greek ancient world, and for many centuries is a subject dedicated to the importance of temples and altars of the Greeks. Why did they give so much importance to this? The birth of the flagrant giants from Gaia and the blood shed by Uranus in it means that they had a mixed earthly and celestial origin. To understand the mixed origins of the giants, we must refer to the occult book of the Old Testament, the apocryphal book of the Enoch, the book of Enoch. It reported that 201 celestial angels, known as the fallen angels, came down to earth, had intercourse with women, and gave birth to terrifying giants. This is from the book of Enoch. And these good daughters and the angels, the sons of heaven, saw them and desired them and said to one another, "Away, let us choose for ourselves women from men, and let us give birth to our own children." The Semiazes, who was their leader, said to them, "I am afraid you may not want to do this thing and I alone will bear the great sin." Leto and Titus, who is holding a large barrel-shaped weapon that has flame coming out of its end. In fact, Demeter was not supposed to have taken part in the Battle of the Giants because she had a special affinity with Gaia and was a protector of the fruits that grow with the sacred soil of the earth. And in Greek mythology, Titus was one of the giants, or according to other mythologists, one of the Titans. Titus is generated either as a son of Zeus and Ilaris, daughter of Orchomenos and Minia, or according to the Odyssey, the son of Gaia. So we see that basically there's a mixture of people coming from somewhere, from the skies and having relations with people on earth. It's just like what Genesis, Giants, and Book of Enoch is telling us about. So according to Homer, the residence of Titus was Evia, the island of Evia. Titus took part in the Battle of the Giants. He also attacked Leto when she was passing through the city, and Titus had occupied. Panopia of Phocus go to Delphi, Apollo and Artemis, the two brothers and sisters, who killed Titus, then came to their mother's invocation. After his death, this huge giant was considered to be stretched for 9 miles in the underworld, and 2 vultures to eat his liver incessantly. The tomb of Titus is supposedly to have existed in Evia or Viotia, about an hour's car ride north of Athens. So, according to what Zemias, their leader of the fallen angels, said to them, they all answered him, "We will all swear and curse each other not to change our decision until we have done so and done this thing." In other words, to mate with human women. So there were a total of 200 of these angels besides Zemiaza, who descended to Ardis, which is the top of Mount Hermon in the Levant. And this mountain was named Armon or Hermon because on it they swore and cursed each other, and these are the names of the chief of them. Semiaz, the chief of them all, Arathak, Kimbra, Saman, Daniel, Ariaros, Shemiel, Joel, Hokariel, Ezekiel, Bethriel, Zathil, Atriel, Tamiel, Barakiel, Ananta, Ramiel, Ashahal, Rachel, and Turiel. So besides Semiaz are the leaders by the dozens. So they took wives for themselves, whichever one they chose, and began to approach them and join them, and they taught them pharmacies, like poisons, rhizomes, collecting of roots for magic, taught them the herbs, and they conceived and gave birth to great giants, 3,000 feet high, 1,380 meters tall, who devoured the toils, agricultural products of the people, and when the people could no longer feed them, the giants turned against them and devoured them. Well, we have of course, the Homer's Odyssey and Iliad talking about Ulysses and how he got Cyclops drunk and freed his men and freed themselves, because the Cyclops was about to devour them as well. Now, anyway, going back to this, they began to sin against the birds, the beasts, and the reptiles, and the fishes, and they devoured one another's flesh and drank their blood, and the earth turned against the lawless. This is Book of Enoch 6 and 7. The fallen angels corrupted the human race and made it immoral and ungodly. But as humans were lost, the Most High God commanded his archangels to imprison the fallen angels in the bowels of the earth and exterminate the giants. So the archangels, they began the extermination of the giants by making them fight against themselves, while later God caused a great flood, completing the extermination of the giants and destroying the ungodly human race. Book of Enoch 8 to 10. Now, the giants of the Book of Enoch have important similarities with the flagrant giants. They were born from the fallen giants. They were born from the union of angels who departed from the divine power, fell from heaven with women on earth, just as the giants were born of Gaia, the earth, and his blood, Uranus, poured into it when the rebel Titans overthrew Uranus. In fact, the Enochian giants, the giants of the Book of Enoch, are also called Nephilim, Book of Enoch 15, 11 to 16, 1, which means fallen, indicating their descent from the fallen heavenly angels. Certainly symbolic. Just as the flagrant giants were unsurpassed in body size, gods who identified with the archangels of the Judeo-Christian tradition and were exterminated by them. Essentially, then, the Greek myths and the Book of Enoch tell the same story about these giants, although, of course, there are important differences between them due to the different evolution of these ancient traditions to the Greeks and the Jews. The giants of the Book of Enoch, the Enochian giants, are thus identified with the flagrant giants, while the fallen angels are identified with the vicious demonic leaders of the Reptilian alliance, while their human-reptile form indicates that they were human-reptile hybrids. Combining Greek myths with the Book of Enoch, we conclude that after the battle of the Titans, the vicious archangels guided their dragon subjects to the creation of the giants to overthrow the Olympian gods, and dragonflies created this genus in their genetic laboratories? Inland, for the most part, by crossing reptiles with human genetic material, and for the rest, as evidenced by the human lion giant Leo, by crossing with human genetic material. In other words, something like what the Sphinx looks like. And the vicious archangels endowed the giants with supernatural qualities and powers, almost immortality in all, a complete immortality in Alkyones, as long as he was in Palini, ability to control fire in Porphyry, and as the metaphorical suggests, to Mimantus and Morpheus, etc. Thus, the giants became mighty and formidable supernatural race, almost equal to the Olympian gods. Scales on part of their trunk and their arms, etc. As for Leo, his presentation as a lion-headed, otherwise andromorphic, shows that he is mainly lion-shaped in the upper part of his body and mainly andro-shaped as a human man in the lower part of his body. When Apollodorus says that the flagrant giants were unsurpassed in body size, he meant that they were larger than all the other giants he mentioned in his work, except for the supergiant Typhoon, which is the largest of all the children of Gaia. For one of the other giants, Antaeus, the Greek historian philosopher of the 1st and 2nd century AD, Plutarch, mentions that his skeleton, which was discovered around 80 BC, the Roman general Sertorius excavated the tomb in the Libyan city of Tigi, and it was 60 cubits long, or 27.6 meters. That's about 100 feet tall. Okay, so that giant was about 100 feet tall. Therefore, according to Apollodorus, the flaming giants were about 100 feet tall, belonging to the first, which apparently included all the giants mentioned by name in the ancient sources, were over 100 feet tall, and were about 100, about as many as it appears from the Dionysian writings, and were the leaders of the second class. They were not much shorter than the first, and obviously inferior to the supernatural qualities and powers, but they were much more. Now let's remember what the 12 spies, one from each tribe of Israel at the time of the Exodus with Moses, saw when they went to spy on the promised land, that they were like grasshoppers to the giants in the promised land. So they were exactly giants. It goes into various words here, but I'm not going to go. But the birth of the giants in Pallene or Phlegra of Halkidiki, northern Greece, that is present-day peninsula of Cassandra. Left foot of Halkidiki means that they emerged on the surface of the earth and rushed against the Olympian gods from their located underground gate. And the connection of the Battle of the Giants with the constellation of the dragon suggests that the giants were strengthened by dragon-like and other reptilian forces, both terrestrial as well as by the constellation of the dragon and other planets, ? All these forces, the large crowd of which is indicated by Nonnus's report of the giants, pressed the starry circle through their multi-necked heads, were placed under the command of Alkyonius and Porphyry, led of course by the vicious archangels, the fallen ones. The giants, reptiles, started the war against the Olympian gods with the invasion of a force under Alkyonius on the island of Erythia, one of the main Olympian bases in the northwest Atlantic Ocean, which grabbed the cows of the sun, that is some valuable being, we don't know what that means, that could collect solar energy, and then the terrestrial and space energy. Forces of the giants and reptiles attacked in combination against the terrestrial and peripheral Olympian forces. Let's remember the Olympians were Atlanteans, who were extraterrestrials, which had as their center the area of Olympus. At the same time, the vicious archdemons were trying to make the giants completely immortal, as Gaia suggests, looking for a herb so that the giants could not be killed by them. But Zeus prevented them, and after strengthening his forces with earthly forces under the command of the elder Hercules, he attacked the giants, reptiles, and repelled them in Pallene. And we have found ancient giant skeletons in Pallene, just a little bit southwest of Athens, the center of Athens. But those skeletons have since disappeared somewhere. Now, and when the great battle was fought on the ground, underground, and above the ground, initially Hercules struck Alkyonius with his bow, that is, with a long-range energy supership, ? Who, however, being immortal in Pallene because of the vital energy he received from it, was constantly recovering. But with the guidance of Athena, Hercules pushed him out of Pallene and killed him. Then Porphyry rushed against Hercules and Hera, but Zeus, after disturbing his mind by causing him a telepathic desire for Hera, crushed him his mighty thunderbolt and was defeated by Hercules. And after the two supreme leaders of the giants, reptiles, were killed, the Olympian forces completely crushed them and exterminated most of them and their leaders. Hercules killed Leo, and along with Apollo, who was also fighting with the bow, long-range energy supership, the Nightmare. Dionysius killed Evritos with his shield, that is, with his medium-range energy supership, and Hecatius killed Clytius with torches, that is, with thermal energy supership, Hephaestus throwing Myrdas, that is, thermal energy missiles, and Mars killed Mimantus. Now Athena pursued Enceladus to Mount Etna, of Italy, we know, and as he was preparing to escape through it to the underworld, struck him with a tectonic supership and crushed him beneath, and then returned to Pallene, where he killed Palantas and captured him in its protective energy dynamic field, which it has been holding ever since, under the name of Pallas. Poseidon chased Polyvotis to Kos through his trident, which acted as a concentrator, some kind of a weapon, of his ability to control water and detect tectonic phenomena. A very strong earthquake swept the volcanic island of Nisiros from Kos and crushed it, and Polyvotis below it. Now, the reptilian forces that survived the catastrophe of Pallini retreated to the constellation of Dragon, while the rest of the rescued giants' reptiles fled in 3 directions of the region in the subterranean world, where they were pursued by the main Olympian force and exterminated almost completely. Only a few second-class giants, the so-called Lefternians, and some reptiles were rescued, who persecuted by force under Hercules, fled to the White and escaped through the underworld gate to the underworld. Excellent. They fled to Mount Etna and escaped through the underworld. The rest of the fugitives fled to Mykonos, but the forces under Hercules came against them and annihilated them completely. Thus, the battle of the giants ended with a complete triumph of the Olympian gods over the reptilian coalition. And an interpretation of Gigantomachia, the war between the giants, may be with scientific predictor and surely technological vision, which we associate with the representation of gigantics from the Temple of Dios of Greece. They were placed in points where the author gives his own interpretations in his attempt to attribute terms used by today's technology theory. And of course, he does not mention the concept of the performance of this event in this way, but an attempt to interpret events as they would be taking place today. So I've translated this for you from a Greek article, and you can see the some kind of a connection between the Book of Enoch and ancient Greek texts concerning the Olympian gods. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.